And sounds of a family member or family members wailing after they heard the news of the death of their relative who was among scores crushed to death in an early morning accident. The death toll is now 34 in the Dompase accident, which happened this dawn on the Elmina-Komenda road following a head-on collision between two Yutong buses. Now, dozens of the victims are also battling for their lives at the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital. Our Central Regional Correspondent, Richard Kojonyako, will join us soon via Skype with an update from the hospital. But before that, he earlier spoke to Elmina District Police Commander, an eyewitness, and the National Road Safety Commission. Let's hear them.
And the letter we gathered was they had a head-on collision at this very spot around 12:15 a.m. today.
Did they give you details of how it happened, who was doing what and all of that?
We gathered one was overtaken, the red one. The one lying just behind was overtaken. And unfortunately, this one, the white one, also emerged or appeared from Takradi's direction. And they couldn't complete overtaking, and they had a head-on collision.
So how many people, can we confirm are dead?
So far, we rescued 29 dead, 13 females and 16 males, together with one child of about 1 year.
So these are people we can confirm dead?
Yes, this one I can confirm dead. We rescued them trapped in the vehicle dead.
So what about those who are injured?
We send many of them to the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital. For those ones, I cannot actually give any figure because it was in the night and we arrived to at least save as many as we could.
What about the drivers of both passengers?
The driver, the one in charge, this one is, he died in the crash. The other one we cannot tell because we rescued almost all of them. Some dead, some alive, and we couldn't tell whether he was among the dead or the alive ones.
So I've got one of the survivors in this fatal accident that happened on the Elmina-Komenda stretch. Good morning.
Morning, sir.
What can you tell us exactly what happened?
Okay. I was on board a vehicle from Takrady to Accra. When we got to this sharp curve, the oncoming vehicle did overtaking, and then our driver tried swerving him, but rather he drove into our direction and then hit him. So that is what happened.
How many people were in your bus?
54 to be precise.
And where are they now? Do you know where they?
Most of them has been taken to the hospital.
But were there people you saw dead in the vehicle that you were traveling on?
Both vehicles. I was part of those who I started with the rescue. And I called National Fire Service and then the police service. So they came and met me trying to save lives before they even came in.
What would you blame this accident for? You being an occupant of this vehicle, was it poor visibility, was at dawn, or there are no street lights on the stretch?
Street lights is one. And the other side is, driving, you don't overtake in a curve. Knowing willfully well that you are approaching a curve, you are not supposed to overtake. Myself, I'm a driver.
Okay.
Yes. So it was the fault from the other driver, the Hyundai bus driver, not ours. He did his best to save the situation, but it's like it's bound to happen. You can't write it off.
It's not too good a news. We can only hope for the best for those injured, and the numbers are actually not encouraging at all.
How does it feel being the head of the Road Safety Commission? We are starting 2020, and this is what we start with.
Feels like a nightmare. I'm yet to wake up from the figures. It's not good. It's a huge responsibility. We are not going to relent. We are still going to educate the drivers on best road use possible. We are not going to relent, like I said. We are hoping this is the worst and it will never happen like this. Even if there's a crash, there shouldn't be any injuries, not to talk of 29 dead on the spot. We deserve better as a region, we deserve better as a country, and we are only hoping for the best use.
Yeah. This very spot is an accident-prone area. This is not the first time this thing is happening. I think, there was a break for some time, and now this thing has happened. What do you make of it?
For now, we cannot attribute it to any causative factors, but considering the time of the crash, we can relate it to a bit of bad weather or poor visibility, because as you can see, we don't have any street lighting on the stretch. So for now, we can attribute it to visibility, but of course, investigations are still ongoing. We'll try to find a best solution to this very problem.
Visibility overtaking all very avoidable situations there that has cost us the lives of so many people, 34, including a 1-year-old boy, just a little boy. Richard Kojonyako is our correspondent who has been on this story since dawn. Richard joins us via Skype. Hello, Richard.
Hi, Gifty.
Bring us up to speed. What is the latest?
Well, the latest is that now the hospital officials here at the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital have told us that we are now 34. The death toll has risen to 34. 89 were sent to the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, and when they got to the hospital, 5 more people died. Now there are 54 more people on admission at the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital as we speak. Others with some minor injuries. There are others who also have some critical injuries. Those with minor injuries have been treated and discharged. Those with some severe injuries, doctors are still working on them, and they believe that, they will pull through.
Looks like I'm losing Richard there. We'll try and raise him back if it even has to be on the phone so we can get the information and the update on that story. Richard Kojonyako is our Central Regional Correspondent, bringing us up to speed on that rather unfortunate accident that happened this dawn. Richard, you were telling us about those who have been discharged, those with minor injuries who have been treated and discharged. Tell us more.
Well, so those who are in critical condition are being worked on. But the relatives of these people have now been trickling into the hospital. They first go to the accident and emergency center where they are made to go and identify whether their relatives are part of the people that are alive. Then after that, they lead them to the hospital morgue where they go and check. So one of the situations, this woman who says that the sister was part of the people that are dead, he said about 5:30 p.m. on Monday, the sister gave her a call that they had reached she was returning from Accra. The sister is a businesswoman. So she was returning from Accra to Takoradi around 5:30 p.m. because they were stuck in the Kaswa traffic. So only for her to hear that the sister was gone. He said in the morning, the daughters came to inform her that their mother has still not returned. And so they were looking out for what really might have happened. Then they heard the news on radio. So she quickly ran to the Cape Coast Hospital, where she went, visited the accident and emergency center. The sister was not there and only found the sister among the dead who are at the hospital morgue. One also sad incident that also happened was at the hospital where a 6-year-old daughter woke up and it was mentioning the name of the dad and the mother. Ostensibly, she might have been traveling along the stretch with the mother and the father. And so the doctors had to calm her down. Now, as we speak, we are unable to know, or we are not in any position to know whether the parents are dead or they are still they are part of the people that are living and the doctors are working on. And so that is the situation. There's been wailing, people are crying, they are throwing themselves on the floor. It's really a pathetic situation. It's some gruesome story one has to cover.
Well, Richard, we've been talking also to an eyewitness, and he was actually in the vehicle. It appears that some of them were able to get out of this unfortunate situation unscathed. How did this happen? Has he been giving you any explanation?
Well, he told me that he was at the back of the bus, so he saw everything that was happening. He also indicated that he was a driver himself. And at that very spot, that Dompoase junction, that is really an accident prone. We have had 42 lives snapped out at that particular spot before. I mean, there was a break about 2-3 years ago. We're not having any more accidents there because there is a sharp curve. And so a lot of lives have been lost on that particular spot. And it was night. So there was an unsuccessful overtaking by the driver of the red bus. And so as a result, there was a head-on collision. And so he escaped unhurt, but he's yet to go to the hospital. He helped in retrieving some of the bodies from the car. When it happened, you see the nature of, now how the red bus has been reduced to. So fire service had to come in with their equipment, with their machines to cut a lot of the metals to retrieve some of the people that were there. We are told that the driver in the white bus that was traveling from Takoradi to Accra, died instantly. But the one who did the overtaking is still alive. That is what we have been told, but we are unable to confirm or verify the authenticity of this claim. So some people have escaped unhurt, but he was the only one at the scene of the accident when I got there. But all of them, the others, they were sent to the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital and they are being worked on.
So tell me again about this little child who woke up and was mentioning the name of the parent. As you said, we're not sure whether the parents were in the have been identified. Has anybody showed up in terms of the family members who are showing up gradually? Has anybody showed up asking for him or asking for them or identifying this kid?
As of the time I was leaving the hospital about an hour ago, no one had showed up, indicating that the little child was a relative. But the doctors and the medical professionals, they handed her over to the psychologists at the hospital. So they have been talking her, but they are still working on to know or to be sure whether the parents are still being treated, whether they are in coma or they are part of the living. If the parents are not part of those people that are there, then it means that the parent might be part of the people that are announced dead and they are in the hospital mob. So they are waiting anxiously for the family members to show up to identify who she is and whether the parents, as the girl has been mentioning, are part of the people that were involved in this accident. But relatives upon relatives have been coming to the hospital. Some have identified the deceased, the dead people, and then there are more people that are also coming to the hospital.
This is certainly a very difficult situation, much more difficult even for children. 1 year old, we're told, who has also died in this situation. Richard, before you go, I reckon that the wreckage is still there, or has it been cleared to also make way for traffic to ensure that this doesn't repeat itself somehow?
At dawn, it was a difficult thing for them to do because the entire stretch was in a mess. The Ghana Fire Service had to work with the Ghana Police Service. They had to work to clear the mess out of the road. They pushed the wreckage off the road, and so it ensured that the commuters or motorists could use the road, could get access to the road. But now they are working on carting these two vehicles to a destination we are yet to know. And so as I speak with you, they are still working on that particular stretch and they want to pull these two vehicles out of the accident scene.
Richard, say a very big thanks for your time. This must be very difficult for you as well, having to be a part of all of this and looking at the wreckage and looking at the number of people who have died in this situation. Richard Kojonyako is our Central Regional correspondent. Like I indicated, there is a little girl whose parents who is still looking for her parents, and the hospital psychologists, we understand, are taking care of her at the moment. But if you know anybody who may have been on that bus, do let us know, and then we will perhaps communicate that with the hospital authorities or the police, and also with our correspondent on the ground. We'll be able to provide some sort of linkage. But what can we do about this situation? We've done several conversations here on this particular platform about road safety, but it looks like people continue to die on our roads. Share your thoughts with us on our WhatsApp platform 054-010-9009. This is The Pulse with me, Gifty and Up here. We'll take a very quick break. It is a loaded edition of The Pulse today. Do stay with us. Let's stay a little longer on that unfortunate incident that's claimed 34 lives, including a 1-year-old boy. Joining us on the line is the ranking member of Parliament of the Parliament Roads and Transport Committee, Kwame Agboja-Governs. Mr. Agboja, thank you for your time this afternoon.
Yes, thank you very much, Gifty, and good afternoon to your cherished listeners.
Thank you. The committee must have heard of this incident in which 34 human beings, Ghanaians, including a 1-year-old boy, has died.
Gifty, this is a national tragedy. We all usually pray that prior to the festive seasons, Christmas and others, we encourage everybody to be cautious, especially road users, so that we don't become victims. And it's a sad situation that these compatriots managed to sail through into the new year and just to be hit with this horrific tragedy this morning. We were all awoken this morning with this terrible news of a lot of our citizens losing their lives in a motor accident. It's such a terrible news. The problem we have currently is that we don't have the full details of what happened. We're not yet sure from the police whether it's a human error, whether it's a mechanical failure or road condition. But before even then, I want to take the opportunity to wish all the victims and the survivors, the survivors speedy recovery, and the families of the victims, condolences. And I guess the state will do whatever is possible to help those who are injured to recover as quickly as possible, and see what we can do to support those victims who are no longer here with us.
Well, it almost sounds like a broken record. Every day we talk about it. Every day people continue to die. I'm told by our correspondent that on this particular road, scores of people have died. In fact, there was actually an accident in which about 40 people lost their lives on this same road. From your perspective on the committee, do you really think there is something we're missing on doing on this road?
Interestingly, that particular section of the road is not the worst part of the roads in this country. So it is quite strange. I'm very cautious not to apportion particular blame at this time, because I know the police, MTTD are on the case. So that is why I said that it could be human error, it could be mechanical failure, it could be road conditions. We can't actually rule out the possibility of accident, but we all know that if we drive within the regulations, that is at the right speed, at the right section of the road, and carry out regular maintenance of our vehicle, chances are that the impact of accidents are always minimal if we all observe this. But it's difficult to come to a conclusion at this stage that the police are yet to come out with a clear reasons why this happened. We can only speculate, and I think that it's too early for us to speculate. The reason on our roads, you and I can see sometimes. Unfortunately, some people still can't get the understanding that driving within the speed limit, regular maintenance of vehicles and everything is in our own interest. I'm not saying that that is the case in this particular situation, but I'm just saying that if we all observe the road conditions and other things, all other things being equal, the impact of accidents should have been less than what we see currently. This appears to be a head-on collision, and one of the vehicles is totally mangled. It can only tell you that the speed at which these vehicles were driving I mean, it's something else that only the police can confirm.
Well, you talk about the investigations that are ongoing and the fact that we don't know exactly the reason behind this wreckage. But then some eyewitnesses and the National Road Safety Commission staff that have been speaking to us say, for now, it is safe to say there were visibility problems. Someone on one of the buses indicated that there was an attempt to overtake a vehicle, which ended up in this. So we're talking about visibility here. There are no street lights on this road, and there are several roads without street lights.
Well, the truth is that we are in a Hamatan. So naturally, at dawn, if you drive, you notice that the distance at which you can see safely is considerably reduced on many of the roads. So the best caution at that time is that you actually drive a bit more slower and keep to your lane. It is quite strange that the person, if you can't see quite far ahead, you should be the one attempting to overtake. I don't want to, apportion blame, but I would have been surprised a professional driver who is observing the regulations and everything would notice that visibility is low and yet would rather try to overtake around that time. If I were to be that driver, if I'm driving and the visibility is low, I would rather drive at lower speed and keep to my lane. Overtaking is out of the question in that particular situation. I think I'll still wait for the police to come up with but I think that what you just raised is a lesson to all of us, and it's just common knowledge that when you're driving and visibility is low, you keep your speed low. Even if the road says you can drive at 100 kilometers per hour, when the visibility is not that good, it is just appropriate that you reduce your speed and keep to your lane, because the oncoming vehicle is not even aware that you're also there. They also keep to their lane, you keep to your lane, you bypass each other safely.
I'll read for you a message I've just received from one of our viewers, and the person is texting from Achim North, Asante Achim North Agogo. He says the drivers of these Yutong buses should be tested of hard drugs before steering these heavy but fast-running cars. So sad, he adds. What do you make of this from a policy perspective?
Yeah, we all know that taking substances, including alcohol and drugs, before you get in charge of a vehicle is a crime in this country. We are happy that the government of Ghana is recently upgraded the status of the National Road Safety Commission to an authority. And part of the mandate, what we did in Parliament, is to give them extra powers to be able to carry out better regulation and to also, with the help of the MTTD, enforce these things. Look, when we are on the road and the police and the officials are trying to regulate what we do, whether people driving on the hard shoulder when they're not supposed to be driving, whether it's cyclists going through red light when they're supposed to stop, whether it's about us going above the speed limit, it is all meant to keep us all safe. So it is not that policemen or women are interested in arresting us for the sake of it. There's nothing that should make you so much in a hurry that you ignore safety regulations on the road, because you must arrive safely to be able to carry out whatever is making you feel you are in a hurry anyway. So this must be a lesson to all of us. And I would still hesitate to be conclusive in terms of what actually caused this accident. But because you raised it, I think it's a lesson that we should all take into account.
It appears that we always, and I'm not saying that's what you're doing. It appears we're always running away from the real issue. So we always say, it's too early to be conclusive about what caused it here and there. But we come to it every single day. I'm not sure if you think this is an issue of policy gaps, because we seem to have all the policies. It looks like it's more of implementation. What can a committee like yours do to deal with this situation we're looking at?
Well, we regularly meet the relevant agencies that are supposed to carry out safety on our roads, and they lay out the procedures and what they've been experiencing. I agree with you that it's ever so often we just talk about it. At this stage, maybe we should come back and speak again when the investigations are out and the police reports are conclusive. Then we can talk much more conclusively. But at the committee level, I just told you we just basically reviewed the laws that establish the National Road Safety Commission and send them to an authority with a much wider, powers, and also better coordination with other agencies, including the Ministry of Road and Highways, the police, and everybody. What can we do? At this stage, Gifty, I think the lives of individuals in vehicles and everything can be protected better when you are in a public transport and you see the driver overspeeding or the driver misbehaving, cautioning. How many times haven't we seen trotro driving on a hard shoulder or overtaking wrongly, and the passengers are quiet simply because the driver is helping them get ahead of somebody or get to their destination on time. But that is a risk to you in the vehicle. It's a risk to other motorists. So we cannot expect the state, i.e. the police and the MCTD, to actually enforce everything. Maybe citizens as well, we should take part of the responsibility. I've seen on countless occasions, obviously we have a traffic situation in our town, in our cities, including Accra. But sometimes the behavior of drivers and other people tells you that we are ignoring the fact that safety is at the heart of whatever we should be doing. So I feel citizens should take part of the responsibility. If you're in a trotro and the driver is driving on the wrong, the hard shoulder, overtaking wrongly, whether it's a trotro or anything, caution the driver. The passengers must be bold enough to tell the driver, stop it. Or if you think the guy has gone to take a substance, whether it's smoked something or drank something, which is illegal anyway, I think we should be able to stand up and then defend the constitution or the laws of this country and say, look, you're not going to drive this car, and probably report him to the police.
That's if anything happens after you report to the police. But before you go, this is my final question to you. Will it be far-fetched for those who have said that perhaps it's about time we begin to look at these Yutong buses carefully? Could there have been a different impact? I mean, we've seen a series of these accidents involving these particular vehicles. Is it far-fetched for those who say perhaps we should be able to examine what these vehicles are really made of?
Yes, I know that every vehicle that is supposed to be used commercially on our road must have gone through a certain level of vetting or approval by the appropriate agencies, including National Ghana Standards Authority and everybody. I know that a number of vehicles from that group you called, Yutong is a known, vehicle production company in China. There are a couple of their vehicles on the road. All the accidents that have happened in the past are not necessarily from Yutong buses. It is inappropriate for me to accept the fact that the buses had accidents because they were Yutong buses. What if the suggestion that the eyewitness brought up, which is the visibility was low and one of the buses was overtaking without actually seeing clearly long ahead enough? Would that have been a different case if it was even a Mercedes or any other vehicle from any other country? It wouldn't have made any difference. It would have still been an accident. So I would be cautious here not to apportion blame in terms of the brand of the vehicles involved.
Mr. Agboja, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Kwame Agboja governs. He's a ranking member on the committee of Roads and Transport Committee in Parliament there. So many lives lost. He says this is a national disaster, but he also says that the committee, for example, will be able to put in any interventions at all if they can after investigations are done and the real cause of this accident is ascertained. Like I said, join us with your thoughts. What do you think we can do? We've run out of questions. We've run out of answers. It looks like we've run out of interventions. We just don't know what is happening. I do have some of your messages here on WhatsApp. I'll read them. But we'll also hear what President Akufo-Addo has been saying. He's been tweeting about it. This message is, you don't add your name. He says, oh my God, we just entered 2020 general and the accident started on our roads already. I think the drivers should be very patient when they are driving. I pray that those people who lost their lives, souls rest in peace. God should have mercy on us. I've never seen some before in my life, this accident. This one says, I was very sad when I heard that 34 lives have been lost through accident. Is this the first time that we're experiencing Harmattan? No one should blame this on the weather. I guess that this is a response to, this is a reaction to Mr. Agboja's position that visibility problems could be as a result of the weather. You say we should not blame this on the weather because these drivers of these buses always overtake unnecessarily and do not do so at the right time. They normally don't respect drivers with small cars like the taxis and the others. I think we should investigate and punish anyone who will be found guilty. This is so sad. Well, keep your comments coming. Let's get on Twitter, see what President Akufo-Addo has been saying. He says, my sympathies and condolences go to all the families and loved ones of the deceased in the horrific accident on the Cape Coast Takoradi Highway, which occurred earlier today. May their souls rest in peace. I also wish the injured a speedy recovery. Well, people have been putting in their reactions to the president's post. Engineer P. Samuel tweeting at Samoa. K. Samuel says the Ghanaian drivers need more education on road accidents. Nana, will you be sympathizing each and every day? It's a question there by Engineer Samuel. Ed Asante tweeting at Ed Asante says, I was in Ghana for the holidays. The single lane highways are very dangerous. The highways between major cities must be widened to accommodate at least 2 lanes in each direction. KB tweeting at Kofi Kid says, God bless you, Mr. President, but please tell your people to pay NAPCO trainees November, December stipend. Nice initiative, but see how your appointees are mismanaging it. Certainly someone putting in his own problems there. This one said, wondering when any government will get serious about road building. This is coming from Forward, tweeting at Afro Forward. He says the N1 infrastructure to propel a country forward is transportation. Oh, the number one, you mean? Infrastructure to propel a country forward is transportation. He says fix that. Build new highways connecting NSWE of the country, proper metro bus and light rail systems to allow for business to even exist. And you post there a picture of a very nice highway, I'm sure somewhere abroad, where the vehicles are moving pretty smoothly. A lot of people have also said it's all about the problems, the behavior of drivers. Okay, so people go on and on, talk about other situations there. But thanks so much, those of you who are sending in your messages. We really do not know. A final message here, and then we move on to other stories. This is coming from Nelson in Takoradi. Nelson says, I find it very difficult to understand why the road safety officers are not located at our transport terminals. They must be there to check a lot. Drivers' resting hours, drug intake, etc. Let's rethink this. Now, like I said, we've asked all the questions, we've explored all of the answers. Now we're still back to square one with people still dying on our roads. The Road Safety Commission, we've been trying to get through to them. We understand that they're in a crunch meeting and they will be coming out with a press conference on this particular matter. We'll be watching that space to see what they say. Will they be monitoring the particular vehicle stations like this text just suggested, to check what the drivers do before they get on this vehicle? That's a very big question that we need to answer. May the souls of those who have departed rest in peace.